over the years, our definition of family has changed and continues to evolve. And one of the organizations here in Northern California that assists families, no matter what the stripe is Family Link. Tonight we're going to learn more about it from Sister Ruth Hall. Welcome, Sister.
Thank you.
So I mistakenly referred to it as an Episcopal organization. You're an Episcopal nun, but Family Link is non-denominational, correct?
Absolutely.
So tell us about Family Link.
Family Link started at the very beginning of the AIDS crisis. Well, before it was even a crisis. We got families who were going to, their sons were going to my church, which is St. John the Evangelist, and they got sick. And they just got sick and died. Mm-hmm. Nobody knew what it was.
No one knew what it was then.
But in the convent, we had a little guest apartment, completely separate underneath the back of the house. And so we invited people to stay there, and they stayed maybe a day or two. I mean, the person just died. There was no need for support. It was like a road accident. They came, the person was in hospital, they died, they went home. And then gradually, we got more and more people wanting to stay in that one apartment, which only had one bedroom. So with a friend, we said, well, let's see what we can do, you know, to get something to answer this need. And so we went out and found out what you have to do for the federal government, the state, and so on. And then we went looking for a place to stay. And we'd actually had 11 people one day wanting to stay in that apartment.
In that one-bedroom apartment?
In that one-bedroom apartment. So we hurried up, and then a friend of mine, Don, said that he would rent us an apartment or some apartments in a building that he was actually the 1/4 owner in. It was just being complete, just waiting for its final. And so when it got its final, we moved into this brand new building along with a number of students from USF. A terrible match, but never mind. I mean, we had a place. And we started getting families staying with us. And then we got more and more apartments. And that particular time when we moved in, Don said, you know, you never know, I could need it myself. And some years later, his parents actually stayed with us when he was dying. And we were just so grateful to him. Anyway, he died. The other person who was the 3/4 owner didn't have the same heart for what we were doing. He's a nice man, but he just didn't, he wasn't motivated in the same way. And so he, you know, kept on renting to students, and our guests would come home at night just exhausted, and the students would be having a great time, and all appropriate, but not a good match. Then a man on Castro died, and he'd left the building to the AIDS Emergency Fund. And they came to us and said, would you be interested in buying this building? And so we went to the Episcopal bishop, because we had no money, and he gave us a loan to at least put down some money to buy the building. And so we ended up on Castro Street.
And at that time, was that Bishop Swing?
That was Bishop Swing.
Right.
Yeah.
So do you ever have people say to you, how did an Episcopal nun become involved with something like Family Link? I mean, I was joking before it started that before I moved to San Francisco, I didn't know, although I was taught by Catholic nuns, that Episcopal nuns existed. I mean, it really seems like you were here, that you didn't go out to find a way to be of service during the epidemic. The epidemic found you.
Right. And it was, you know, the thing that I most resonated with was I was talking to several friends at church, and I got the same feeling from them that I had when I was a kid. I was born in '49. So by 55, 56, and so on, the peace movement was really starting to take off, because we were always being told they're going to drop the bomb. You know, Russia's got the bomb, this one's got the bomb. And it was like this thing that was just hovered over you, that was evil and frightening, and yet you didn't know what it was. And I just got the exact same feeling talking to these friends who were getting sick. About
AIDS, HIV, that it
was...
Well,
it wasn't even called that. It was just people getting sick. You know, it was either Haitians or gays.
Yes.
And I remember one of our brothers dying, and just before he died, he said, I don't know, how am I going to convince my parents I'm Haitian? You know, I mean, there was that... That
kind of dark humor.
Something. But it wasn't anything that anybody actually... And then it became grids, and you know... And
so you and Family Link have been very much part of the whole story of AIDS, HIV in Northern California.
Well, Family Link started as a response to what was happening.
Did you ever think that you would be doing this sort of work when you went into the sisterhood?
you know, I never thought I would be buying condoms in a habit for a kid, or, you know, I mean, various and sundry things that I have done. I thought,
yeah.
oh my goodness.
Yeah,
I never thought, no.
Right. Has there been some education within your own community about AIDS, HIV, and the LGBT community? I mean, you say you went and had to buy condoms, things you've done to be of service to your community. You probably didn't, that probably wasn't in the rules of order for when you became a nun.
No, no, it wasn't. And it wasn't something I expected to do in a habit. But the thing with a habit is, you know, if you wear it sometimes and sometimes you don't, you forget. And then you suddenly wonder, why are people saying hello to me on the street? You know, oh, I've got my habit on. You know, so you know, that's you don't know, and it's more buying it in a habit. But no, there's been an awful lot of things that when I started in the community, I was 21, and I certainly never expected. I never expected to be living in the United States,
right?
And I certainly never expected to do so many things.
Mm-hmm.
But the brothers, many of our brothers are gay men, and so. That's just become part of life,
right.
You know. So
right.
I mean, there's lots of fun and laughter and
right.
celebration and, you know, tears, just everything around.
When I was in school, I spent a couple of summers at a Catholic monastery. At the time, I thought about entering a monastery myself, and there were certainly gay brothers, but they were Roman Catholics, so they couldn't be out.
Right.
Do you ever, as an Episcopal nun, look at your Catholic sisters and go, why can't your church just get it together?
Yeah, I do. I mean, the recent things, I'm so proud of those women who are saying, you know, no, we're not taking those orders. You know, we're going to find a way, but we're not just being dictated to. Yeah, I do feel for them.
Right.
It must be very hard. You know, everything that's your safety net is being threatened, and you may have been together for so many years, and somebody could come and split you up and say, "Hey, you go there." And
so, do you ever think? Do you ever think of yourself as an activist?
No. No, I don't really.
Do you think other people think you are?
No. No.
What is it that first attracted you to the sisterhood, and what keeps you there? Because you were a Quaker, you weren't even Episcopal when you were born.
I was a Quaker, and I had no idea what that. I don't even remember seeing nuns. I must have done, but I don't remember. And walking around the garden singing Alleluia, and just knowing I was playing at being a nun. And my mother she just never took any notice. She just was, you know, until I actually confronted them. And then my father, who maybe didn't know the word lesbian, or maybe just didn't want to say it in front of me, said, if you're going to go and live with a bunch of women, you need to have your insides examined. And I just said, no, it's nothing like that. I just want to do this work. They were nursing. I wanted to do it so badly. I wanted the camaraderie. And I already had that very deep sense of being in touch with the sort of quiet that's inside you, you know, and I really wanted to develop that as well. And this was like everything on a plate, you know. There was time to pray, there was time for laughter, I mean, lots of laughter. There was sorrow, there was everything, but it, you know, it was wonderful. And the same thing now. Now I have grown old with the same sisters, some of the same sisters. 4 of us came to America in '74. And I've grown old with them, and what a joy. I mean, I can't even think of anything else you could do other than having a one-on-one partnership. It's so intimate.
So more intimate and gratifying.
Yeah, and, you know, we have our house meetings and we have our sharing meetings, and even last night we were doing that, and I still heard things that I thought I haven't heard before, and just, you know, what a great lady. This was one of the sisters who was talking. You know,
still catches you off guard.
It does, and you know, I still love it, and I really have never felt anything I wanted to do more that would take me out of there.
Right. Now, Family Link is a continuously growing organization. I imagine that the need continues to grow. Talk a little bit about where you see Family Link growing and changing in the coming years.
one of the things that we do now is we take many more people who are not with HIV/AIDS, like maybe a transplant or something that can't, and a lot of things that can't be done in Fresno or in Lake County or different places. So we get quite a few families who have a loved one who is gravely ill and cannot be treated at home, and so they need a place to stay.
So Family Link is the place where the families who are there supporting their loved ones who are going through treatment or what have you stay.
The patients do not stay with us
Yes.
ever. I say ever, there have been a few exceptions, but I mean the patients don't stay with us. The families stay, and they spend almost all the day at the hospitals or hospice or wherever it is, or maybe the person's home even. And that need, because of the hospital specializing, there's a greater and greater need for those out in the boonies to come to major centers.
And the families that stay with you at Family Link, is this something that they pay for? I mean, how does one afford this? How do you afford Family Link's work?
We exist on donations and a few grants. It's a very hard organization to fund because the people we serve are not San Francisco residents. Even if somebody with AIDS who's living in San Francisco, the people we're serving are from outside. They may be from Australia, they may be from the East Coast, anywhere. So we kind of don't fit in that category. The other category of healthcare, we're not actually giving healthcare. We're giving hospitality. But having somebody at the house and then going to the hospital to be with a loved one is often the most beneficial thing that can be done.
Well, yes, because you're giving more than a place for this family to stay. I imagine it's ministry of another sort. You are literally helping them spiritually and emotionally through a very difficult time.
Yeah, and just to have the security of a safe place in a strange city. There's a humongous need for a place for people who come to San Francisco for treatment, who can't afford like 6 weeks of radiation. They're not in hospital, but they're staying in. They have to stay somewhere in the city. It's terribly difficult for them to do that. And we just have to say no, 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 no. The other thing that we can't do is our house is not handicap accessible. And every time I ask somebody if they can manage to climb up a flight of stairs, mostly they don't understand.
So someone who wanted to come to you with a grant to make you handicapped accessible, that would help Family Link a lot.
It would indeed.
So maybe there's someone watching now. In our last few moments, talk to me about what you think is the greatest service Family Link provides.
It does provide a safe place for families and a place for them to gather together and talk with somebody else who's going through the same situation. And that's invaluable. You know, they stay in touch with each other through the years. So,
I mean, you still get letters or correspondence from people who've stayed at Family Link?
20 years ago, more. And their handwriting's getting shakier and shakier, and But I remember those people,
Yeah. So the work you do is still incredibly gratifying.
Oh, absolutely. I'm so lucky. You know, I am so lucky to have this job.
Well, we're lucky to have you on the show. Sister, thank you for being with us, and thank you for Family Link.
Thank you.
And we thank you for watching. I'm David Perry. This has been 10%. We hope you'll tune in next week. Good night.